cold temperatures are just around the corner. Not that it's not cold right now, but I mean colder temperatures. Right now it is 40 degrees. Temperatures are climbing to 68 if the weatherman is right. And then tonight dropping down to 40. Then tomorrow, listen to this, 55 the high for Wednesday. Tomorrow night, 25 the low. So I imagine we'll get a
25 below?
25 the low, not below.
Okay, yeah.
25 is the low. Yes. Highs in the lower 50s. Remember that thing, highs in the lower? Don't people always get confused with that?
Yes.
Or temperatures will be colder in the normally cooler areas. I like that.
Yes.
All right, we're going to talk about the schools here in Marion County, and who better to talk to us about them than Dr. Heidi Maier, who's in the studio with Kevin Christian, talking about the schools. Public relations, what are you, public relations director? Officer. An officer, you need a badge. Got a pretty tie. You both look good. How are you doing? I know we did this already. Do it once more. Now that we're officially recording and everything. So before we do anything serious, have you ever seen the movie Les Miserables?
No, but I saw the musical, the stage production.
Did you really?
In London.
In London?
Yes.
Holy mackerel.
Yes, and I sat there and I thought, why am I sitting? It was so depressing. Why do people do this over and over? It was so sad.
Mm-hmm. It was.
But it has a happy ending. It was sad, you're right, but it had a happy ending.
Oh, yeah, but yeah.
Did you see the movie, Kevin?
I did.
Okay, did you ever see the making of the movie?
I did not.
Okay, and we just watched this the other day, so it's all new to us. I know it's 5 years old.
Yes.
Whatever.
2 years back.
But because you're a piano guy, I found it interesting that all of the actors and actresses sang live to the camera, that what you're watching is them singing at that moment. Mm-hmm. The music that they sang to was a guy at a piano. And in other words, your job as the piano player would not be to lead them, but to follow them, because they were interpreting their words, even though they had a melody to follow. They could take a breath, they could dramatize a line or something and stretch it out, whatever.
So I wonder if they orchestrated it after filming was done.
I bet you they did.
You have to do it that
That's interesting you say that.
That's what they said, yeah, in the making of it. Then they put the orchestra after it was all done.
Isn't that interesting, though?
Very interesting.
I just thought
it's a lot how they do animated films. Same way.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I want to be a voice on an animated film.
That'd be fun.
I wonder who I would be. Like a little flea or something. Just something. Really little. All right, let's talk about things. One of the things that was in the news that I think is on the positive side from the schools is the Golden Apple. That's a cool thing you do to acknowledge and recognize excellence in the schools.
Well, that's our Public Education Foundation is the head of that, and Kevin has the history on that. Do you want to?
Oh goodness,
Yes.
it's a wonderful process where the community is actually involved. There are representatives from the community that actually choose the Golden Apple recipients. Well, they actually read all of the portfolios, 52 portfolios, and they read those, score them, then they narrow those down to interviews, then they narrow those down to personal observations in the classroom, and then they narrow those down to 5 teachers that receive Golden Apples, one of which becomes Marion County's Teacher of the Year.
Wow.
That is nice. It's a really nice thing to do. And it seems like the students are really always behind their teachers when the teachers win.
It is the prize patrol. It
awesome.
Like every good thing you can imagine about a prize patrol, it's that and a whole lot more.
Yeah.
When we go in and give those Golden Apples.
That is really cool. Are you always there?
Well, I have been for the last 18 years.
Yeah, and you. I was trying to remember because I was watching the video on the Star Banner video that Doug. I think Doug did it, right? Doug Engel.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love those videos that they're doing now. By the way.
Oh, it's awesome.
So-
Yes, and then this year we had a Golden Apple recipient, Miss Williams, at Lakeware High School, and she was one of my son's teachers.
Is that right?
And he just adored her. They shared, well, they did not share political views at all. They were on different ends of the spectrum, but she always respected him and allowed him to speak, and he so respected her. And that's how she organized her classroom. So when we presented the Golden Apple to her, I had him on Skype, or on FaceTime, actually, on my phone. So Jack and I got to give her the Golden Apple.
Oh, that is nice.
Yeah, that was great.
I think that's the first time that's ever happened.
That was great.
Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah, that's the technology coming into play and
Sure.
being used in a positive way. Yeah, it's very good.
And how do you choose the rookie teacher of the year? Is
Same
there
process.
different
There's a
criteria?
different committee that looks at all the 52 school-based rookie teachers of the year, and they narrow that down as well. But the only difference is they narrow it down to one, and that
Oh,
one is
okay.
that one is named that the day that we hand out the golden apples.
That's so amazing.
So another thing that I watched on the videos was the meeting you had with Evergreen Elementary.
Correct.
They had a failing grade. Is D considered failing, or is it just poor? Okay. So they had a failing grade, what, 2 years in a row or something?
Well, it's been several years in a row they've struggled.
Several years.
Yeah.
And it's not you, but it's the state that has a mandate, right? You in the video you mentioned the law, I guess, that regulates that.
Correct. This past summer, House Bill 7069 was signed. Prior to the signing of that, we had this school year and next school year to implement changes at Evergreen to bring it up to a grade of C or better. With the signing of HB 7069, that timeline was changed, and now this is the year that Evergreen must earn a C or better, or we will have to choose one of three options for that school. And the option that I'm recommending to the board is that we close it as it is and then repurpose it into a middle school magnet for the arts. There are no other options other than the three that the state proposes. And I think that is where some people are having a difficult time understanding, why don't you do this or try this? Because we can't. We have those three
The
options.
three options, yeah,
That's
yeah.
it.
Well, we've already tried many of those options that some people are suggesting. For years and years, that school has struggled. And for years and years, the district has provided additional people, additional technology, additional dollars, additional resources into that school. But it simply hasn't
Have
worked.
you had a failing school that did pull themselves out of it? And if so, what did they do? What could Evergreen do if they did want to see? If they got to see, would that all change? Would they change that?
They would be able to stay open as is, but then my sense is we would find ourselves back here next year, because if you look at the school grade since we started tracking in 1998, it has fluctuated. There were 2 years of an A that were spread out that are outliers, and with the struggles that they're having, there is not one constant variable that we can put our finger on to determine what the issue is. Our
Really?
sense,
That is
yes,
interesting.
there is not one constant variable. We looked at principals, we've looked at the testing, we've looked at the teachers, and nothing is making sense here. My thought is part of it has to do with the zoning and the fact that we bus kids in such a long distance off of West 40 up North 441 to the school. When you're on a bus for an hour, then you're in school an extended hour because it's an extended hour school because it is struggling. And then you're you lose the drive even to focus on school.
See, right.
So there's so many different variables, and we just believe that this is the
hard.
right decision.
They're on a bus for an hour?
Some of them are on close to an hour.
That would explain a lot.
Well, yes. Now, when we presented the original plan to the board, we had suggested that when we close Evergreen and we distribute those kids, that we were going to send them to some of the north side schools because we were working within the parameters of the guidance under 7069, which I had a board who over the summer said, it's here, we're going to deal with it. They did not want to sue like other school districts did. They're like, this is what we have, let's work within it. So we designed a plan within those parameters. At that meeting, though, some of the board members opened the door to doing something creative. And if we move now, before we are told by the state what to do, we can move these kids a little closer to where they live, much closer to where they live. We still believe that closing Evergreen and repurposing it is the best option, but we can put these kids closer to where they live, cut down on that bus ride, and put them in a school where they will feel part of a community. Because if you're on a bus for an hour,
Gotcha,
it's
right.
not a community school.
Well, I think you have pinpointed
Well,
the problem. That sounds like you have.
It may be. But out of the 110 kids in the area of Evergreen, only 59 attend that school. So when you talk about a community school, it's not a community school.
So if it becomes a magnet middle school,
Yes.
then who will the students be?
Middle schoolers who wish to pursue the arts. Because look
I
at,
see, I
we have
see.
awesome Madison Street, we have fabulous Westport,
Yeah, they're
and there's
wonderful.
nothing in the
Nothing in the
middle
middle.
to
Okay,
keep those kids
okay.
going. There's no pipeline. And we recognize...
feeder program.
Yes, we recognize that as a deficit a year ago, but didn't have a space for it in our middle schools because they're all growing so
So
much.
it could be a blessing in disguise.
Well, as Mr. James mentioned, you're making something wonderful out of something that on paper looks so bad.
Yeah,
So-
well, that was good.
And the social aspect, like you said, the kids should go to schools closer to their neighborhood. My nephew lives in Lottie. He had to be bused to Fleming Island High School, which is
gosh.
like an hour from his place.
Yeah.
And you have friends at school, but then by the time you get home, you don't have those friends anymore because they live an hour up the road. So
yeah,
community
yeah.
friendships with the students throughout all of their school is very important.
Well, and then you look at middle school, and remember when we were in middle school, and you're a lost individual anyway. There's so much happening to a young person in middle
Yeah,
school.
yeah, yeah.
So if they have that love of the arts, and that's something that's going to hook them and
I think so.
inspire
Yeah,
them,
I think
then
so.
oh my gosh, they deserve that opportunity too.
And that is a good time of our lives, and those ages right there to kind of kickstart something that might be within the rest of their lives.
Or to continue that potential that they're developing in elementary.
Already started,
yes.
yeah. I love that. So what is the expo, the Magnet Expo that is on my list here? What is that?
Actually, we had that last week.
Okay.
It is an annual event where we showcase all the magnet schools and programs that we have district-wide. Every high school has some kind of magnet program, many of the middle schools, and then I would say 8 to 10 of our elementary schools have specialized programs as well. And those are our choice programs, if you will. You can apply for your child to go to that program, be it the ACE program at Bellevue High School or North Marion High School, or the IB program at Oakcrest Elementary, or at
Or
Lake Weir
Vanguard.
or Vanguard. Yeah, so it's one place where parents and students can come and get all that information at the same time instead of having to make 7 different trips to 7 different high schools.
And is the thing, this is going to sound like I don't know much about what you do, and that's probably true, is the thing that you're attracting, the word magnet, is it talent? Is it...
I think it's interest. That's the
Okay.
whole purpose of the expo, is if you're interested or if you've ever wondered about a magnet program or what it does or why it exists, then come find out. Come talk to the kids who are part of the program, because the students are there,
Right,
the
right.
teachers are there, the administrators, the principals are there. But I think the most valuable part is for students to talk to students and for parents to talk to those students who are already part of the program.
Well, the Madison Street School, we went there for something. I can't remember what we were there for.
Yeah, we played there.
And they had a string section,
Absolutely.
strings, violins,
String
and
program.
cellos. And I thought, oh, wow, isn't that awesome? I thought you don't see that very often in schools. It's always horns and brass.
Correct.
Nothing wrong with that, but
Right.
you don't see strings that often.
Right.
And I love strings. You love strings too, right?
I do. They're hard to find in this community. I look for them every year for my Christmas musical, and it's just really hard to find them.
Really? What about with the symphony? Those guys over there. Don't they have a junior symphony also?
Yeah, they do.
I think they do.
Yeah.
They do. The youth orchestra.
The youth orchestra. Thank you.
Yep.
Many of those people are already committed in their own music programs
Yeah.
during the Christmas season. So it's
And one wonderful things about the magnet school is that you're allowing the students to say it's okay to like the art or like music and things like that. They don't have to just
Or
be
it's okay to like
in
science.
A regimentation.
It's okay to like
Exactly.
math.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I love that. I love the science expo that you do every year.
That's
It's
coming
just
up.
Fascinating.
It's coming
yeah.
up, Science Fair.
Yep.
So do the students who go to the magnet schools then, are they recommended by the current school? Is that how that works? Or by the parents?
A lot of it depends on the program that they want to be part of. There are strict requirements. For instance, the IB program, you have to have the grades at the high school level, because IB is, I call it this program, it may not be the most appropriate language, it's a kick butt program. You know, I mean, if you're looking for a program where you can mess around and not have to really work hard, IB is not for you, because you won't last.
Doctor, if you'll put your headset on, we have a listener calling in, and you'll be able to hear the call. Good morning. Thank you for calling. You're on the air.
Yeah, good morning. Some years ago, I donated a large amount of sheet music to the Ocala Symphony. It's it's brass heavy. It doesn't have any string parts, but it is the Ralph Carmichael arranged Christmas carols, and also I have also donated the Cuban Fire Suite, which is a Latin type arrangement of for 5 trumpets, 5 trombones, 2 French horns, 5 saxophones, Latin percussion. So if any of the schools want to experiment with those, they are available through the Ocala Symphony.
Oh, wow.
I just wanted to point that out.
All right. Yeah.
Wow.
That's good
Have
to
a
know.
good day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Wow. That's more in your line, Kevin.
Well, I know that we have kids I say kids, high school students from our high school music programs who are involved in the symphony orchestra here and with Kingdom of the Sun. So that's a wonderful opportunity for them. Thank you for making that donation.
Yeah, that is awesome. And the Kingdom of the Sun is an awesome band, too. And they have high schools.
Oh, absolutely.
I think they have middle school students in there, too. I know they've got a 14-year-old girl.
Yes.
They did, anyway.
Wow.
So what would that be high school? What is 14?
Well, it could be high school, depending on the student.
Let's see, what else do you have on your list? The Coats for Cooler Weather program. That sounds like something we could talk about today, huh?
Oh, my goodness.
What is that?
Well, it is a partnership between us, our foundation, and the Early Learning Coalition, where we have been collecting coats for kids and then getting them out to the schools. When we came back after the break, we had that real cold snap, and our district staff were put on notice. This is priority. Get these coats out to kids. So we had staff members delivering coats, and it was just a good thing. And we are ready for this week too.
Yeah. We used to have announcements every year from was it the Pink Ladies at
Yes,
Vanguard
at
High
Vanguard,
School?
Pink
Yeah.
Ladies.
Yeah, do they still
Service
do
club.
that? We didn't get the announcement this year.
That club still exists.
And they were collecting coats every year. I didn't see it this year. Maybe they forgot us.
They may be tied up with other projects. That's a very active group.
And do you have
Diane,
to donate
what part?
pink coats? Do you know?
You do not.
I'm teasing.
You know where that comes from. The name of the club.
Hey, wait a minute. Let me guess. Is it the
This is
Greece?
trivia.
Is it Greece?
It is.
Okay.
Very good.
Thank you. Rizzo.
Yeah.
I was born to play Rizzo.
I believe you. Let me hear a little bit of it.
Oh, I don't sing.
Look at
just-
me, I'm Sarah. Was it?
I'm just-
is that
Sandra D.
Sandra D.
She was a very misunderstood individual.
Yeah.
She was. She had a very good heart. She had a very good
Move along
heart.
to the next topic.
All right, the next topic is
Purple Heart.
something I'm hoping we can be part of, the Literacy Festival.
Oh, yes.
I'm hoping, because, we're putting together a children's book.
I know.
Will you accept self-published? Because we won't have Random House ready yet, I don't think.
Kevin will get you the forms. We need to get those.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
okay.
we'll get them up on the
Do you know we
website,
already
too.
have a children's book? We have a couple of them, actually, but we have one illustrated one online somewhere.
I remember we were here last year and you guys were showing us some of the early artwork for it.
Oh, yeah. Well, that has devolved to something.
Did you say evolved or devolved?
It's on hiatus
Well,
right
it
now. That's
devolved
okay.
because our main characters are now children. In the original one, their main characters were adults.
Okay.
And we made them children.
Okay.
It's kind of a long story. But anyway, so tell me about the Literacy Festival.
So it will be the second one that we've had, and it's just a celebration of reading, and it's a free family event. This year it will be at Citizen Circle, right there behind City Hall.
Nice.
And we will have 50 vendors. We will have food trucks, and everything is free for families. The food trucks will be selling for a nominal charge. But all the activities
Nominal charge.
Nominal.
I like that.
It'll be a phenomenal day. But yeah, it'll be just a great day for families to come out and celebrate reading, get free books and activities, and for agencies to promote what they're doing, like the health department.
I love
Is that the
your
vendors, health
enthusiasm.
department?
Yeah, absolutely, yes. And the vendor spaces are free. So,
okay.
yes, totally free.
I'm hoping that somebody one day says Dr. Heidi Maier is the reason I love reading, because I really think that's one of the huge things that you're making as a contribution to our children in this community and the adults that are paying attention to it as well. And when I heard about Evergreen, for example, I, as an outsider looking in, had no clue what could possibly go wrong. And I thought, well, maybe they just need to stimulate the reading program, because reading usually leads to everything else.
Right.
And of course, that's too simple. Obviously, your answers to what was going on over there is probably more on target, but I mean, reading is super important, and to jump in right at the early ages as you do. Well, that's kind of the way to do it.
Can I tell a quick story?
Yeah.
When I was a reporter, I did a story one day on a 64-year-old gentleman, Ocala resident, who had just learned to read.
Oh my God.
And I interviewed 64 years old, and I said, "Sir, how did you get through life? How did you, when you went to the grocery store, how did you find, you couldn't read, how did you find what you needed to find?
Right.
If you needed a can of green beans, how did you find them?" He said, "I would either look at the picture on the can or I would ask an associate where the green beans were, and they would walk me to them." And I thought, oh my gosh, you have to go through life doing things that way. How exhausting that must be. So that story, I mean, I've been out of reporting now for 18 years, so it really impacted me. And yes, everything comes from reading. If you can't read, how do you succeed?
Yeah.
I love that quote. You should put that up somewhere.
T-shirt.
If you can't read, how do you succeed?
Could I trademark it?
Exactly. That's yours. That's Kevin's.
We are talking to Kevin Christian and Dr. Heidi Maier. If you're just tuning in, if you'd like to call in, you're welcome to do that. The number is 622-9622. We only got about 5 minutes left. Let me see, on the list, let me make sure I don't miss something that you guys really want to say something about. Is there something that comes to mind?
Community
Well,
conversation.
You were going to talk about that and Purple Heart parking too.
What is the Purple Heart parking? Is that for veterans?
It is. It's a reserved parking spot. We're working to have one at each of our schools. Right now we're at 18, 19, 20 schools, somewhere around there, where there's a sign out in front that has a reserved parking spot for Purple Heart recipients so they can come to our schools, share their stories, share their experiences with our students.
That is really good.
And you guys make a ceremony out of it because
It's
you
a big
send me
deal.
the pictures and you invite the veterans and the students intermingle and get to chat, and I love that part of the program.
And that's something exciting that the whole reception is so individualized by the school staff, and they take such pride in that too, to honor and to treat our veterans. We were at Reddick last week, and the pre-K kids had made necklaces for each of the veterans, and they had made cookies for them. They sang them a song. How do you honor a hero? How do you? Yes. And then they went over and they put their necklace over the neck of the veteran, and then they delivered the little cookies, the little bag of cookies. But each school does their own individual twist to it, and it's amazing. It's just amazing that. I just get speechless because it's such an emotional time.
Great to see great to see the interaction. I like it when we have the ROTC units at the high school levels and the veterans there, and after the ceremony, they just talk to each other.
I think one of the criticisms we've had as a culture has been that we've ignored the wisdom of older people, and a lot of times the references will be to the indigenous peoples of America, where they always revered their elders, and our culture now on their same land doesn't revere our elders. But I think when you have a program like that, it answers the question is, well, what can we do to change that, Well,
and we've had our Veterans in the Classroom program for years.
Marion County has always been very veteran friendly.
We have a significant part of our population.
Yeah.
We should listen to them. We should hear their stories and learn from
And
them.
the veterans were very instrumental in the naming of the Hammett Bone School, too.
Absolutely.
Yeah, not to mention that Hammett Bone himself obviously was a veteran. So.
And our vocational programs too, we are making new partnerships with our veterans agencies for with our construction program. It'll be the first one where we are opening up that communication so veterans can actually have their own, they'll be their own cohort with this new construction program, and Mr. Vianello is heading that with great partnership with the Vets Helping Vets Center.
He's
down
a
on the
nice
boulevard.
guy.
He is.
Yeah,
he's
he's a real
brilliant.
nice man.
So you're having another meeting tonight for Evergreen? Is that just to wrap up the loose ends? And
We have what's called a community assistance team. It's required by the state, and we actually will have 3 schools on the agenda tonight, but Evergreen is the one that is obviously at the forefront for immediate action.
Oh, you know what I want to squeeze in there too, Doctor? What is your thought on it looks like it's going to be where we don't elect your position anymore? anymore. The school board would appoint your position. What is your thought on that?
Well, even when I was running for this position, I said that if that's the school board's choice to put it on the ballot, if the constituency of Marion County votes that way, then it will be my job to facilitate that process. So it's up to the voters.
It sounds like it's in two places. It's locally and statewide, right?
Well, it's a constitutional amendment. So,
okay.
yes.
Okay.
There's a lot. There's a lot of constitutional amendments up there. Oh, my goodness.
Okay. So,
And then you have community conversations, and one is coming up on Monday.
Yes. That's a series of 5 meetings geographically placed throughout the district where folks can come and ask questions and learn more about Marion County Public Schools.
That's wonderful. One-on-one. I
Straightforward.
love that.
so what's next for you guys? The best day ever? I'm looking for the song here.
It's already the best day ever, right?
It's a good day.
Is.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah, well, thank you for what you both do and for bringing the information to us on the radio so that we kind of keep up with what you're doing and sharing it with our listeners. And
It's a great way to start our day.
It's
is.
a great way to start my day. I love this. Let's see, where's the best day ever? Didn't I have that song on here earlier?
Yes,
You
you
did.
did.
Where is it?
You need to get the Axl Rose version.
The Axl Rose
time.
version. Best day ever.
That's the challenge. for
Best
next
day
month.
ever. Where's-
We could just sing and you could go
Some
into the break.
80s trivia.
Oh, there you go.
Oh, here it is. There it is. There it is. SpongeBob SquarePants covering Axl Rose.
That could be, too.
Dr. Heidi Maier, thank you for what
Thank
you do
you.
and for coming in here. And Kevin Christian, thank you.
Thank you.
We'll be right back.